All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our February Agile Games Twin Cities meetup. We've got Marissa with us once again. Marissa is one of our co-organizers for the meetup, and she's got a great paper folding activity for us today. I know nothing beyond that, so Marissa, it's all yours from there.
Thank you. Yeah, I was purposely vague. If you have seen this activity before and we start to do it and you say, oh, I remember doing this before, try not to ruin it for others. When we get to the debrief, I want to, we don't want to cheat anybody out of the debrief opportunities there and what they're thinking. And then Chris, I don't know if we've announced it yet or not, but Chris helped do some of the legwork to get this meetups recognized by Scrum Alliance. So you can actually claim SEUs now. When you attend this meetup, you can go in there and claim an one SEU for attending today.
I think it was always eligible for SEUs, but now it can qualify for a different one. Like before it was like I attended something that relates to it, and now this counts as like a Scrum Alliance affiliated event. So it can qualify as a different category, which sometimes is helpful depending on where you need hours.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. So make sure you do that if you need hours. Get in there and log them up. All right. So with this activity today, I am going to be very vague with the instructions, and I'm doing that for a reason, and we'll learn about that. We'll talk about it when we're done with the activity. We're going to do 2 rounds of this activity. For the first round, we're going to do cameras off. So everybody will turn off their cameras. You're not allowed to ask any questions. So what you'll do is I'm going to be reading off some instructions for how to fold this piece of paper. And you're going to try your absolute best to fold the piece of paper and follow along with my instructions. No questions, just try your best. After the first round, we'll kind of do a feelings check for how that felt. And then we'll move into a second round where we'll change the dynamics on how we're doing the activity. So do you have questions before? I have to purposely be vague, but do you have a question that maybe might help with logistics or anything? All right, so everybody can turn off your cameras, and I'll let you know when we can turn them back on. Okay, so take your piece of paper. If it's a rectangular shape piece of paper, you want to fold it in half like a hot dog bun. So take your paper, and if it's rectangular, fold it lengthwise like a hot dog bun, right down the middle. And after you create that fold, go ahead and open up the piece of paper so it's open again, and you can just see that crease down the middle of the paper. For this next step, you're going to take the upper right corner and you're going to fold it down until it meets the left edge of the paper. So taking the upper right corner and folding it down until it meets the left edge of the paper. And once you create that fold, you're going to open up the paper again. Then you're going to take the left corner and you're going to do the same thing. You're going to take the left corner and bring it down to the right side of the paper, create that fold, and open your paper back up. Okay, with your piece of paper open, you should see a diagonal crease that meets in the middle. So kind of like an X with a little dot in the middle. You're going to take your piece of paper and fold it backwards, so away from you, not towards you. Fold it backwards on that little diamond or that little point that's caused by the diamond, and then open up your paper again. So create that fold and then open it up again. This step's a little tricky. Pick up your piece of paper and hold it in front of you. You're going to hold it at the sides, and you're going to bring 2 points down to the center line and flatten. Once you have that flattened, you're going to take the uppermost triangles and you're going to fold them up to the top point, kind of like you're making a paper airplane. Hey, Niels, we purposely have cameras off for this round.
I was going to say, this is now what I usually expect.
Yeah, it's just for this round. If you want to hang out for a minute, Niels, and then we can jump in. We're halfway through the first round.
Cool, thanks.
Find some paper. You might want to find some paper.
Got it. Sorry I'm so late.
No worries. All right, now you're going to take the sides of your paper, and you're going to fold them into the center line. Take the sides of your paper and fold them into the center line. And once you have that folded, you'll take the bottom half of the paper and fold it upwards so that the end sits at the center of the top of the diamond. And then that same piece of paper that you folded upwards, you're just going to give it a half fold back towards you. Just a little bit. And then voila, you are done with your creation. Did anyone get anything out of that? Nice.
No.
Mine is a swan.
Very nice. How did that feel for folks as you were going through that? How did that feel?
Very confusing.
Yeah.
Super confusing.
Started very solid. I'm like, yeah, I got this. Yeah, I got this. And then it was like, okay, this is the step where I no longer have this.
Yeah. It's tricky. Okay, we're going to do this activity again. So you can take a different piece of paper. If you want to reuse the same paper, you can. It might just get tricky with the fold lines, but you can get a different piece of paper. And for this round, we're going to leave cameras on. If you don't want your camera on, that's fine, but you can leave your cameras on for this. And this time you can ask any question that you want, anything at all, whatever you want. We'll just leave it at that. Any question, free game. Okay.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question now?
Go for it, Richard. Yeah.
Can you describe like what the end state is going to be so we can know if we're on the right track?
Yes, I'm glad you asked. We are making frogs. Yep, we are making, you're supposed to be jumping frogs, but mine never really jumped very well. I don't know. Must be the builder.
Very well.
Any other questions?
Chris is working already.
Yeah, that's probably what I should do.
It's almost there. It's a little big-headed frog, but.
All right. Does everyone have their piece of paper ready to go?
Does it need to be square or 8.5 by 11 works?
You can go with that, Niels, if you want. I'll say from experience, I've started to kind of trim out my paper a little bit and get smaller. It'll still work that way. All right. So this time you're going to take your piece of paper again, and you're going to fold it into the hot dog bun. So fold it lengthwise and get that hot dog bun, and then open it up. Very good. Thanks, Ryan. Once you have that fold, you're going to take the top corners, and you're going to fold them down to the opposite edge of the paper. So you're going to do that on the right side, and you're going to do that on the left side. Fold it how? That's the second, Deb. I'm fixing my paper. I wasn't satisfied. Okay, so after you create your hot dog bun, you'll take the right corner and you're just folding it down to the opposite side so it looks like that. create your fold.
Okay.
And then you'll open it up and you'll do the same thing on the other side. Hard to see, but yeah, you'll start to have that X pattern. And then where that diagonal crease meets in the middle, that's where you're going to take your paper and fold it backwards and then crease it well. So on that X point, crease it backwards. So now you should have several lines on your paper. And this is the tricky part. This is where I think people get lost. So you hold your paper open and I'm holding it where there's that line across the middle. And this is where you, because of the folds that you made, your paper should kind of just naturally fold inward.
Oh my gosh.
So you'll kind of have a house shape. So again, I'm holding it away from me so I can show you guys, but if you just kind of start to push in on that line, it'll start to fold in a little bit because of the creases that you made. See, Richard's got something working there. Yeah, okay, great. And then on this next step, once you have your house shape, you'll take the triangles here, you got little triangle flaps, and you'll fold them up to the top point. So on each side, you'll take your little corner of the house roof and fold it up to the top.
Building the same thing as before, right?
So now it looks kind of like one of those, what is it, like a barn with the, what's the barn stars with the quilts or something? It's kind of like that. Okay.
I'm following the same directions, but I'm definitely building something different. So,
well, I'll be excited to see what you come up with.
Absolutely.
All right. Once you have that done, you'll take the sides and you'll just fold them into that center line that you have. So just take the sides of that paper and fold them into the center line.
So it should look like this?
Yes. Yep. You're on it, Deb. Yep. Perfect. And then you'll take your bottom piece of paper. So I'm holding this away from me. So my folds are all pointing to you guys, but you'll take that bottom paper and you just fold it up so it meets the corners of that diamond, like the edges. So all the way up here. So you're gonna take that piece of paper and fold it all the way up here. All right, and then you're gonna take that piece of paper that you just folded upwards and just kind of give it a half, like a half a fold, just down to the bottom. So like I have the piece that's folded up to that diamond shape, and then I'm just taking, it's hard to see, I'm sorry, Chris, and then just taking it and folding it just down, just halfway. And that's the last step. And if all worked well, you have a cute little frog.
Oh.
oh,
Does yours have eyes?
I put eyes on it.
I missed a step.
No, I didn't tell you guys to do that. I put eyes on it. And then I've found that the smaller they are, the better they'll jump, but mine still don't jump very well, but they're supposed to like do a little hopping action. I don't know. I don't.
It works a lot better than the first one.
Nice. Look at Richard's hopping along.
Oh, cool.
Niels, did you get like a toad with your big paper? Is that what you got?
Yeah, it seems like it's the right shape, but it seems pretty fat. I can't tell if
You got a toad. It's okay.
okay, so Chris is pretty similar to mine, so I feel like I didn't
Yep. Yeah.
I didn't F it up too badly.
Amber, did you get one? How did it go for you?
Well, it went.
It went. That works. All right. So with that second round, How did that feel with the second round?
Felt better. Because I could actually see, like, you're showing examples, you're showing a visual.
Yeah. So I ran the same activity with one of my teams, well, actually two of the teams I work with, and they behave very similar to how we did the first round. And when we did this activity, they had a lot of revelations, and they actually had some pretty cool quotes and some learnings from it and things that they wanted to change going forward. Before I spoil what they had to share, what kind of thoughts do you think that they might have said, or what would you might have gleaned from this activity?
Well, can you repeat the question that you asked? At what stage?
Yep.
At what stage?
Yeah, so I did this activity with two of my teams, and they behave very similarly to how we did it in the first round. So they are quiet people, and they don't turn cameras on, and that's how it goes. So we did this activity, and I did it the same way that I did with you guys here. And they came up with some revelations between the differences. And after doing round 2, they definitely decided there were things that they wanted to change. So I'm curious if you guys might have noticed or could guess what some of the things they came up with, if they were so used to using cameras off or being so quiet.
Their cameras on so they can communicate differently, I guess. I mean, right?
That's one of the things that they talked about.
Yeah.
When we were doing it, I noticed that to piggyback on that, I noticed that actually people weren't asking a lot of questions in the second round, but they were but there was chatter, and people were like smiling and joking, and there was a lot of like emotional exchange that was happening that wasn't actually informational.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like there's also some unsaids that were okay, because when, like, even the first time when you're describing how to fold it in, I could tell the direction you're folding in without saying, okay, you're saying the hot dog bun, but are you looking in the hot dog bun or the other side? I could see what you're doing, so I didn't necessarily have to. So I realized I was making an assumption, but I could also validate the assumption in real time.
Yeah.
I would also have to listen again, because I feel like some of your instructions were more complete in the second time than the first time, but that could be an optical illusion, because like I was seeing it and it felt like it was more complete. So I'm doubting myself as to whether it was more, like your instructions were better the second time because you could also show it. So I'm not sure. So there's an optical, so either it's easier to explain it when cameras are on, or it's easier to think they're better instructions when cameras are on. Either way, the instructions were clearer.
So I want to know what the revelations.
Yeah, Chris or Ryan, did you have anything before I share what the team shared?
I feel like this is like a shared documentation versus shared understanding kind of thing. Like your first reading of it was like, okay, we all have, the contents of the story that we're going to build this time, and we all built something different based on just what was documented. Where the second time there was that more exchange and there was more discussion, and we got to a better kind of shared understanding than just by hearing your instructions alone the first time.
I'd say I spent as much time probably watching your folds, Marissa, and obviously the direction you're giving, but as I was paying attention to everyone else. So I sort of see like I'd get stuck on something, and you were very quick with Marissa. You were very quick with getting your folds, and you sort of knew what the activity was, but the rest of us were learning at the same pace that I was. And so I'm watching to see how are they tracking that.
Yeah. Deb, did you have anything to tack on? No? Okay, that's fine. Yeah, so the big revelation that this team had, so the environment that I'm in right now, very slow moving with things. We are in the style where it's barely even quarterly releases. It may be 6 months to a year long release. And what's happening is we're still in this environment where everything is just coming down, just straight down the chimney, and people are just doing. And when they got done with this activity, it was super impactful. Someone said, oh my gosh, with this release that we did, there was massive amounts of rework that we've spent months of rework for this release that we could have totally avoided if we had just communicated more with each other and asked questions. What was happening was they didn't have the right people in the room. So the architects or whoever above was just filtering this stuff down, and everybody who was actually doing the work never asked questions, never pushed back. They never asked why, what's the outcome, what are we trying to do? There was never any two-way communication. They were literally just doing, they didn't feel like requirements for what they were asked to do were even clear, but they didn't challenge it. They just did it. And then months go by and they realize they have to rework everything because they didn't do it like what the outcome was expected to be. So they asked me to go repeat the activity actually with some of these other leaders and other folks in the area that they were having this two-way communication issue with. And they started to change. Some of them were more comfortable turning cameras on so they could get that face-to-face interaction, but they also asked a lot more questions for clarity and trying to understand what it is that someone was asking them to do or accomplish. So just the fact that they called out that we had months of rework that could have been avoided, that's crazy. That's not 2 days, that's months that you could have spent doing something else. So that was their big revelation. What do you guys think about that?
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm like, how do I get people to turn their cameras on?
You start every meeting with a folding activity.
Yeah, I'm okay with not the cameras if people don't want to turn them on, but I get hesitant when I don't hear questions being asked, or because then I just can't tell if you're actually engaged, or are you on the same page as all of us? Do you truly understand, or are you just doing your own thing, or what's happening? So if people have their cameras on and they're engaged, I'm okay with it usually, but I don't know. It just depends, I suppose. So this game, I actually picked up on it elsewhere, and I think it's included on a fun retro site, but they did it physically together, and they also did it differently. They did it differently with like breakouts, and they assigned a person as a scrum master and a product owner, and they did 3 different rounds and 3 different versions. And given my situation, I changed it to how we did it here today, and that's what worked for my group. So if folks want to go back and repeat it with your teams, you can either do it the way that we did it today, or you can go back out and do it the physical way that the instructions have said. You can do breakouts, you can assign people as product owner, you can do it however it fits for the scenario that you're in with your teams. Just add your own spice to it.
This is a really cool activity. I actually had the same problem as you. I used the what was it? I used a different activity though. I think it was mural board. That activity that we did, Marissa, that you did from the last meetup that I came to, might have been a couple of months ago, but it was like, yes, anti-agile. And that seemed to help a lot. But really, this is really cool, and it's very creative. And it also sparks, it engages people to, I don't know, it helps like build that relationship with the team and others. Like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes people, when they don't have their cameras on, you don't really know who you're working with, you know, but this kind of builds that comrade with the people that you're working with. So I can see how like this could change people's perspectives going forward. Like, oh, I didn't know you. So
yeah, I'd like to ask a question.
Sure.
So the thing that kind of goes in my mind, how did you build the trust with your team that they're willing to spend valuable development time making paper frogs?
That's a great question. So I've found, given this kind of goes with the nature of the environment of where I'm at currently, we don't have enough time together. We have golden hours. We have a globally dispersed team. So I have to get creative with how I get things in. And I actually did this as a retro. Given their slow release cadence and all these other issues that they have, their typical sprint retros get very stale because it's just the same. It's literally the same thing. They're just trying to get through. They're still kind of doing this waterfall thing. So I snuck this into a retro, and I just said, we're going to do something different just totally different. We're going to take our minds off of the day-to-day, what went well kind of thing, and do something different. And I feel that this helped them open up more and talk a little bit more. I also feel that was probably just the dynamics of that team too, because it could be different given who's on your team and what their experiences are, how willing they are to share, how open they are. So I snuck it into a retro. I try to do that a lot. I sneak things into their retros.
Well, I'm happy because that staleness is a roadblock for my team, because like robot, they're like, we're going to keep complaining about the same thing. I'd rather just get back to work.
Right.
Right.
So yeah, I snuck it into a retro, and I think that helped because they still learned something from it. They took action items away from it that they're like, starting tomorrow, we are going to do this, and I was like, yes, take it.
Did it stick?
Yeah, they have done a lot better with asking questions for more clarity or pushing things back, especially if it's just really, really, really vague. I mean, there's that line where, you know, they own the solution and they can do the things, but sometimes it's just so vague and they'll send things over. Again, our environment, you have to send things over. It has to get reviewed like 80 times before it can even make it out to production. And at that review state, if it didn't meet what was supposed to be written, they would pass it back over to the developer. And they're just, things weren't clear. So we're starting to button that up. So now when it gets to review state, it's not getting passed back 18 times. It's reviewed and it's done and it can go on.
I've got a very specific situation on my team, and I think this is going to work perfectly because I asked at one of I think it was a review session, guys, like this story took really a long time because they requested, it's a monitoring team, like they requested monitors through the tool. So they made the request through the tool. So I set it up. They were getting so many alerts. I had to turn them all off. And then we had to have a session so we could go back through and make sure we had all the ones turned on that they wanted. And I said, if you didn't have to fix these things, fix these things as soon as you built them, but like we're able to help, like you had a process so you could build it right the first time, how much time would you save? A week? And he's like, I don't know. That's one of the main things I do. And so that I think this kind of having a conversation about the requirements rather than just filling out the ServiceNow form for a request like this, I think what you're saying is having that conversation so that you know what the end result was, like you have the end in mind, right? And yeah, so anyway, I look forward to deploying this as quickly as possible. By the way, how long ago did you do this exercise, and are you seeing a faster deployment?
The deployment, no. So I'm at Medtronic, and it's ridiculously large, and the technology is just ancient, and getting people to change their ways is not the easiest. So no, I haven't seen quicker releases, but I've seen quicker like more communication, and also the feedback aspect too. Like that was something else that they realized, asking the questions along the way of, you know, can I see that fold? Does this look right? Am I on the right track? They realized that value of the feedback, because that was another piece. We would do sprint reviews, and anyone who was invited outside of the team never came at all to provide any kind of, and the team would have demos and things to share that they would like to get feedback from, but it was pulling teeth to get that feedback. And they were like, man, that's invaluable if we could just get someone to say like, yeah, that looks awesome, or no, that box isn't the right color because of, you know, accessibility, blah, blah. Like none of that was happening. So that was another nugget, feedback.
And how's it going with reviews then?
Still don't have people coming to the reviews, I'll be honest. I'm very hopeful. We're making some changes, and I'm very hopeful that those changes will entice people to come to the reviews more.
Has anyone else had success in flipping a non-reviewer into a reviewer? Uh-oh.
Not with quality. Not with quality.
In my experience, like if you want stakeholders to like show up to a review of any kind, like you've got to make it worth their while. you've got to be showing them something they're excited about. You have to be like delivering on some feedback. You've got to be like, one of the best product owners that I worked with when I was a Scrum Master, he had a knack for figuring out what to ask at a review to make those stakeholders feel invested. Even if he knew exactly what he wanted to do, he would still ask them the question and get them to tell him his answer, essentially, just to make them feel engaged and like they were contributing to something. And then we'd go away, and 2 weeks later we would come back and show them, hey, look, we implemented that thing that you told us about. And that, I think, built a ton of trust. And so trying to like find a way to get them engaged, build something they care about, and show them that like their voice matters, made those extremely valuable.
Has he written a book? I know 6 people might be willing to buy that book.
I'll let him know. I'll get him writing.
All right. Any other thoughts or questions or anything that folks have on their mind?
Is this, do you send this out, this exercise?
Yeah. So after this, Chris recorded it, and he'll do his magic to make sure it's amazing. And I'll send through a summary that it will include a link to the folding instructions. And then if I can find where the actual like gameplay instructions are, I'll send that out to Deb. I'll admit that I found it one time, and then I kind of wrote things down, and then I never went back to it again. And now sometimes I have a hard time refinding it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Oops.
Now, like Amber was talking about, previous recordings, that's all on that, like the Twin Cities.
Yeah, it's
website?
agilegamestwincities.com, and then right up at the top you can click meetup recaps, and it'll show you all of our past meetups. We've been recording them for quite a while now, and so all those recordings should be out there. They're all hosted on YouTube, so you can go back and watch them all. Thanks, Niels. And yeah, all those are out there. And then where we can, we try to have links to any source material that we have. So
Perfect, thank you.
So whatever links Marissa has, we will throw in the write-up there.
Yep. Cool. Well, look at that. 24 minutes back to your day to go drink more coffee or whatever you need to do. So
you're making another frog.
Yeah. You're gonna have a whole
this.
Marissa, it's a great exercise, and I'm really, I mean, the amount of trust that you're building with your team, it sounds amazing. Your situation doesn't sound unfamiliar, and I'm glad that you're very proactive about an important problem and transformation in a difficult environment. So kudos.
Thank you. Yeah, I try my best. Thank you, Richard. All right. Well, I suppose that's everything. So Chris, thank you for recording, and everyone else, thank you for attending today on this Thursday morning. And if anybody has an idea on something that they want to try next month, we don't have anything lined up for March yet. So if there's something that you even just want to try, this is a great environment to try things and see if it might work. And we can help you figure out, maybe some things to twist or do a little bit differently. But yeah, if you have anything you want to experiment with, great opportunity right here. Bring it here.
Yeah, or if you're like, I would do it, but I need a buddy, like, please reach out. Like, we will find you someone to be your buddy and figure out how to co-do it too. I know personally, I feel better if I know I've got someone else who has my back going into something new like that. So
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Have we ever done anything on the drama triangle? Just out of curiosity.
I don't remember anything about that.
Did you say drama triangle?
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing a retro with the team next week, and it would be better to try this activity out with you all before I do the retro, but I think we're gonna do it live. But I wonder if that could be a fun tool for everyone to put in their toolbox. So yeah. I might have an idea, but I'll follow up with you if I can commit to that.
Sounds great.
That'd be awesome.
Marissa did it live.
Exactly.
Yeah, Niels. Jeez.
No
All
fear.
right. Well, thank you, everyone. We'll get that summary sent out sooner than later. So thanks, and we'll
Thank
see you.
you.
That's really
Good to meet you guys.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Nice job.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.